When people utter the statement, there are no essential carbohydrates, and they use that to justify something in your diet, you need to run. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. Because what people don't understand, when we hear the word essential, in the English language it has a certain meaning, and scientific and nutritional science terms it has another meaning as well. Okay, so when we hear the word essential, we're thinking, oh, you don't need it or benefit from it. Okay, right? Well, benefit and absolutely require to survive are not the same thing. Okay, and we need to be clear, you need carbohydrates so much so that your body will try to make them out of everything, because you will be dead within minutes without them. You will literally be dead. If your body's supply of glucose, which is sugar, goes to zero or goes too low, you will be dead within minutes. Life ceases to exist. But the word essential means that you have to have it in your diet. All right, and here's I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an explanation. Essential. It isn't essential that you have air conditioning or heating. Okay? People say, but you might die without them. That's true, but you also are not 100% chance guaranteed to die without them. That is literally the same thing. People say, but I need them for my comfort. I need them to function properly. It gets so hot or so cold where I live. Okay, fine. But there are people in your climate type who have survived without either one. It has happened. It is physically possible for some humans, in many cases, to survive in extremely high temperatures without air conditioning or cooling. And it is possible for some humans to survive in sub-freezing weather without, heating in their house. It has happened. Therefore, using that same logic, they are not essential, even if some people die without them, because of other complications. That is the equivalent. That is literally the equivalent of what we're dealing with here. So when people say that, it is so ignorant and profoundly stupid that they're using it then to justify dietary stuff that it's just ludicrous. Because here's what it comes down to. Yes, our bodies require carbohydrates so much so that they have learned to make them out of anything and everything they possibly can, because we prefer them as a fuel source. Now, that being said, nowhere on earth do the lowest carbohydrate diets as a percentage produce great health or longevity. Okay? So let's look at that for a moment. What diets in the world, around the world, have we associated with the longest lifespan? Okinawans right at the top, 80% carbohydrate. 80% carbohydrate diet has the longest lifespan documented on Earth. Mediterranean diets tend to be really high. That's the biggest one. Probably the Mediterranean diet is on the lower end of the carbohydrate scale at around 60% of your total calories coming from carbohydrates. That is, in terms of the longevity diets, the diets and cultural diets that are associated with the longest lifespans and the best health, the lowest one still has at least half, if not more, of its calories coming from carbohydrates. That means all the other stuff, all the different fats and proteins, still comprise less than half of the total energy intake. Okay? Highest fat diet known to man in nature is the Inuits, the Eskimos. Okay? Now, for people say, so there you go. All right? But they don't follow ketogenic diets in the strictest sense, number one, because they eat a lot of raw meat. Apparently, there's a lot of glucose in raw, uncooked meat. And it turns out, when it's been estimated, they still consume around 20% carbohydrate. But I want to note something here. 2 points. Number one, they have short lifespans in their natural habitat. What? The lifespan of the average Eskimo on their traditional diets is only like 50 to 55. That is their lifespan. Even the American diet outlives them. The average American lives longer than their 50s. If we live into our 70s, we're just not, that's not considered great. Okay? So we could literally take all the diets around the world, the non-modern, slightly older type diets, cultural diets, and there's an inverse relationship. The higher the fat, the shorter the lifespan. The higher the carbohydrate, the longer, with Mediterranean being an exception. But Mediterranean's low in saturated fat. It's full of polyphenols and monounsaturated fats. Fiber is carbohydrates, and it's a little higher in protein than most of the others. Okay? It doesn't match the model of these low-carb advocates unless they're telling you to eat olives and avocados, not red meat, in large amounts. It also has a lot of cultured dairy. They're not eating a lot of butter. Keep that in mind. So when you look at these things, you have to step back and go, well, wait a minute. This is a problem, right? All right, how about athleticism? So that's lifespan. What about body composition and athleticism? Almost all the top athletes on the face of the earth, elite athletes, consume high carbohydrate diets. Nearly zero of them do ketogenic diets. Nearly zero. And a lot of the ones that do, they can't sustain them because they can't sustain their athletic performance. So carbohydrates do seem to be, may not be essential in the strictest sense to survive. They do seem to be essential to have a long lifespan in fairly robust amounts. I mean, again, objective, look at the data. They also seem to be essential. They also seem to be essential for great athletic performance and great body composition. The only exception that I've seen guys get away with are people who use very copious amounts of PEDs and anabolic drugs. Can get away with more ketogenic diets and still have lots of muscle, good performance. But do they really compare with people who still do higher carbohydrate using the same stuff? They still oftentimes fall short. But they have another factor that's letting them still be exceptional. You know, therein lay the problem. Right, therein lay the problem. This whole, it's not essential as a cop-out. And I would say to those people, do you know what else isn't essential? Saturated fat is a completely non-essential nutrient. We do not require a single drop of it in our diet for health or to survive. Not saying we can't use a little bit, but they want to eat that, but it's not essential. It's only two essential fats: linoleic acid and alpha-linoleic acid. That's it.